The room was cold. Not the kind of cold you fix with a sweater, but the kind that seeps into your bones. The kind that tells your body, you're alone, you're exposed, and no one is coming to save you. Chloe Sharma sat at a steel table, hands clasped tightly in her lap. The same hands that once held champagne flutes at networking galas now trembled under flickering fluorescent lights. Her eyeliner had betrayed her. 2 black streaks carved down her cheeks, trails of panic, not just tears. And across from her sat 2 military police officers, stone-faced, silent, watching. She tried to smile at them once, one of those charming, disarming smiles she used to get out of parking tickets and overdue rent, but it didn't land, not here. Because this room wasn't built for charm. It was built for truth. And the truth was about to crush her. Behind the one-way glass, another figure stood watching. Her back was straight, her shoulders square. The insignia on her uniform glinted under the dim lights. Anna Sharma, Chloe's little sister. Except in this room, she wasn't the little sister anymore. She was Echo 7, a counterintelligence specialist. And today, she wasn't behind the glass as a bystander. She was here as part of the tribunal. For the first time in their lives, Anna held the power, and Chloe was finally at the mercy of someone she never saw coming. Chloe kept glancing at the mirror, trying to catch her sister's eyes, hoping for some sign, some flicker of empathy, of familiarity, of family. But Anna gave her nothing. No smile, no nod, no pity, just a steady gaze, cold, focused. Because Anna wasn't here for family. She was here for the truth. Just a few hours earlier, Anna Sharma had been smiling. Not the polite smile she wore at family dinners, not the "I'm fine" mask she used to survive awkward reunions, but a real smile, one that crept up without permission, the kind that made her eyes warm. Because in the middle of a high-security signals intelligence facility, someone had remembered her birthday. A box, wrapped in obnoxiously bright paper, neon ribbons curled like confetti. And on the label, in bubbly, familiar handwriting, it read, "To Anna, from your favorite little spy." Everyone in the mailroom laughed, joked about how her sister clearly had a sense of humor. And Anna let herself laugh too, just for a second. Then, a shadow. Colonel Evans. His eyes scanned the package like it was wired to explode. "Step away, Sharma," he said. No smile, no explanation, just the sharp edge of command. Anna froze, hand still midair, inches from the gift. "Sir?" she asked, confused. He didn't answer, just raised a single finger and pointed to the label. Her eyes followed his, and the warmth that had just bloomed in her chest turned to ice. It was meant to be a joke. 5 words scribbled in bright ink, a sister's inside reference. "From your favorite little spy." Anna had read those words 100 times before on texts, birthday cards, group chats, but not here, not in this place, not on a package, sent to one of the most classified P.O. boxes in the United States. That phrase, harmless in any other world, was a trigger, a known code phrase flagged by counterintelligence, a recognition signal used by foreign sleeper agents. The second it was scanned, red lights lit up, protocols activated. Screens began flashing across the base. Operation Red Flag initiated. In less than 30 seconds, the entire base went into lockdown mode. Door sealed, communications froze. Every analyst, officer, and commander snapped to attention. They didn't care who sent the package. They only cared that it might be a threat. Anna stood there still, inches from the box, watching her entire world shift in a heartbeat. A warm gift from her sister had just set fire to an entire intelligence operation. Hook delivered coldly. It was just a joke, but in this world, jokes can start wars. Christmas dinner was always a performance. The lights were too bright, the laughter too loud, and everything had the artificial sweetness of a scene rehearsed too many times. Chloe sat at the head of the table like she was hosting a talk show. Her phone rested next to the bread rolls, lighting up every few seconds with new notifications from the campaign she'd run that week. A soda company, something viral, something bright and bubbly, just like her. She pulled up charts and laughed while showing engagement numbers. "Look, 12 hours trending," she squealed. The whole table clapped like trained seals. Her world was shiny, simple, explainable. Hashtags, influencers, clicks. Everyone understood that. Everyone cheered for that. Especially their father, who looked at Chloe like she was the proof he'd raised someone impressive. Anna sat in near silence, nursing a glass of water. She waited for the noise to die down just enough for a pause, just enough space to try. "I got my D-Lab scores," she said softly. "I placed in the top 1%. Silence. It wasn't pride that crossed her father's face, it was confusion. "D-Lab," he said, squinting like she'd mispronounced something. "Is that a certification or something?" He chuckled, reaching across the table to pat her hand, like she was a child showing off a drawing. "That's nice, honey. All that reading finally paying off, huh? But Chloe, now she's in the real world. She's making things happen." And that was that. Chloe glanced at her, and it wasn't smugness that cut the deepest. It was pity. The same look people give stray cats outside warm restaurants. As if Anna should have been grateful to even be seated at the table. Every memory rushed back like a flood. The science fair trophy that collected dust in a closet, the scholarships no one celebrated, the night she got her clearance letter and no one asked what it meant. They had decided long ago that Anna's world didn't count simply because it couldn't be described in a sentence at a cocktail party, because it didn't glitter. No one cared what she did as long as she didn't make them uncomfortable. They didn't understand her silence wasn't weakness, it was responsibility. They didn't understand that the girl they overlooked had once traced a digital worm through a live feed and saved 12 operatives from an ambush in a place she couldn't name. That while Chloe chased likes, Anna stopped threats. But none of that made for good table talk. So she smiled, she nodded, she swallowed the bitterness with her water, and she stayed quiet. Christmas at the Sharma house wasn't really a holiday. It was a stage. A spotlight, a scripted production where everyone knew their lines except Anna. Chloe was always the star. That year was no different. She arrived in a red coat that turned every head. Her heels clicked like punctuation across the hardwood floor. She was glowing, radiating, alive. The family circled around her as if she carried sunlight in her purse. Dinner was loud, over-seasoned, with stories about viral campaigns, influencer events, and brand collaborations. Chloe showed everyone her latest analytics, click-through rates, ad impressions reach. Even Grandma applauded when Chloe boasted about trending in 3 different regions. Their father raised a glass and said, "To Chloe, who proves you don't need a desk job to make a difference." Anna barely touched her food. The clinking forks and fake laughs blurred around her, but she waited for the moment the room would quiet, and when it did, she spoke. "I got my scores from the D-Lab," she said softly. "I'm in the top 1%. The room paused, just for a breath. Then her father furrowed his brow and asked, "What's a D-Lab?" He wasn't curious, he was dismissive. The way he always was when something couldn't be turned into a neat story for his work friends. "That's nice," he added, before turning back to Chloe, who had pulled up a video of her at a product launch. Chloe didn't even look over. Anna sat there, present but invisible. It wasn't that they disliked her. They just didn't know how to see her. She didn't fit their version of success. She wasn't Instagrammable. Her victories were silent, encrypted, and buried under clearance codes. Her world existed behind locked doors and unspoken sacrifices. But no one in that room had ever knocked. And that was when she realized her invisibility wasn't an accident. It was a choice. Theirs. The room was dark, cold, humming with a constant low frequency that seemed to buzz straight into her chest. Rows of screens filled the space, blue light flickering like the glow of a digital ocean. Anna sat perfectly still, headphones pressed to her ears, fingers poised just above the keyboard. It was 2:11 a.m. The others in the SIFE were quiet, focused, working through their night shifts with the same tired precision. But Anna's mind was burning. Something didn't fit. A packet string from a known communications channel had jittered barely just enough to catch the trained eye. The variation was microscopic. A normal analyst would have ignored it. Noise, they'd say. Static. But Anna didn't believe in coincidences. She zoomed in, broke the data down, removed the outer layer. There it was, a piggyback signal. Not random, not benign. It was embedded in an otherwise clean transmission, a ghostwriter on a secure channel. Her hands moved fast now. She flagged the breach, isolated the origin point, estimated the window of exposure. She wrote a clean surgical report. No emotion, no ego. Just facts, timelines, threat scale, action needed. Then, without hesitation, she signed it Echo 7. Not Anna Sharma. Not the quiet one. Just the name that mattered in this world. 5 minutes later, she felt him before she saw him. Colonel Evans entered the room like gravity followed him. No announcement, no words. He simply walked up behind her tablet, in hand, eyes already scanning the report. He said nothing for a full 30 seconds. Then he looked at her directly. No softness, just razor-sharp awareness. Good catch, Echo 7. 4 words, but they shattered a lifetime of silence. He didn't pat her hand. He didn't say, nice try. He didn't follow it with, but your sister. He saw the work. He saw the skill. And he named it. In that moment, Anna didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. Not for who she was to her family or how she failed to shine at their table, but for what she truly did and what she protected. This world didn't need her to perform. It needed her to be exact, and she was. The moment the scanner registered the handwritten phrase, the system didn't hesitate. There was no delay, no discussion. The base's automated threat detection protocol kicked in instantly. One harmless-looking package had tripped an alarm that only a handful of people on Earth even knew existed. It wasn't the glittery wrapping paper or the curly ribbon that mattered. It was the 5 words on the label, from your favorite little spy. It didn't matter that it came from her sister. It didn't matter that it was meant as a joke. The phrase had been flagged in a high-priority list compiled through years of intercepted communications and deep surveillance. It was a known recognition signal, and now it had been detected inside a top-level military facility. The fluorescent lights above shifted subtly emergency mode. In the CIF, alerts appeared on multiple screens simultaneously. Red banners blinked across the walls. Operation Red Flag active. Phone lines were cut. External emails were locked. All data ports closed like steel shutters. Doors slammed shut one after another as the lockdown rippled through the halls. The building became a sealed box of secrets and suspicion. Anna didn't panic. She knew exactly what this meant. She had trained for it. She had written part of the procedure herself. But this time, the sender's name wasn't a faceless operative. It was Chloe Sharma. That was the part the system didn't care about, and that was the part Anna had to forget, at least officially. She stood at her console watching the feed update in real time. New protocols, clearance confirmations, chain of command escalations. She breathed once, deep, steady, then keyed in her access code and began the process. At that moment, Anna ceased to be someone's daughter, someone's sister. She became Echo 7. The room was colder than usual. The temperature hadn't changed, but Anna felt it settle in her bones. The birthday package now sat inside a sealed evidence bag on the table. The glittery wrapping had been cut clean, folded back like the petals of a surgical wound. Nothing inside had exploded. No weapon, no tech, just a scarf, and a joke. But sometimes in Anna's world, a joke was the sharpest weapon of all. Colonel Evans stood at the far end of the room, arms behind his back, gaze steady. His uniform looked heavier today, weighed down not by medals, but by decisions. He didn't speak for a long moment. When he did, it was quiet, almost too quiet. Technically, he said, we can classify this as a non-credible domestic anomaly. His words landed with weight. He didn't sugarcoat them. It's a phrase on a trigger list, yes, but given the context, civilian sender, family connection, it's plausible this was unintentional, a false flag, a system overreaction. Anna didn't reply. She knew what this was: an offer, a door, a way to make it disappear. The colonel walked slowly toward the table, resting one hand lightly on the plastic evidence bag. We can label it a procedural misfire, file it as background noise. I can make the report disappear. His tone was careful, never manipulative, never demanding, just open, like he was giving her space to choose. For a second, she imagined it, the easy way. She could walk out of that room, pretend it never happened. No one would know. Chloe would never face consequences. The family would never know what she almost caused, and everything would return to normal. Normal. The word tasted bitter, because normal meant being invisible again. Meant sitting at dinner while Chloe told stories and their father clapped. Meant getting patted on the hand instead of being heard. Meant carrying 1,000 unspoken slights on her back while smiling for holiday pictures. Anna looked at the colonel. She didn't see a man offering mercy. She saw a test. And maybe, for once, she was done protecting people who never even saw her. Anna stared at the evidence bag. The scarf inside looked soft, familiar. A birthday gift from someone who had once braided her hair and stood up for her in grade school. But it wasn't the scarf that mattered. It was the words. From your favorite little spy. She saw them now not in Chloe's cheerful voice, but in a cold, metallic tone. Echoes of intercepted chatter. Code names buried in hostile data streams. Anna had flagged messages like this before. Anonymous senders, foreign threats, but never family. Her chest tightened. It would have been easier to say yes, to take the colonel's offer, sweep this under a procedural rug, write it off as bad judgment from a clueless civilian. It would have been easier to protect Chloe. But Anna didn't join military intelligence for the easy way. She didn't earn her clearance, her call sign, her reputation by closing her eyes when the target hit too close to home. In this world, data was sacred. Protocol was survival. And intent, no matter how innocent it felt, was never above consequence. She took a breath, a full one, slow, measured, then looked Colonel Evans square in the eye. "No, sir," she said, voice steady. "The protocol was triggered by the data provided. The protocol must be followed to its conclusion. My relationship to the sender is irrelevant." There was no anger in her voice, no vengeance, just clarity. A silence passed between them, weighted and final. The colonel nodded once. Not out of approval, but out of respect. Anna turned to her console and began the paperwork that would officially launch a counterintelligence investigation against her own sister. The room had no windows, no clocks, no color, just concrete steel and silence. It was the kind of place that stripped a person of confidence layer by layer until only the truth remained. But Chloe Sharma didn't seem to notice. She walked in like she was stepping onto a film set, not a military-grade interrogation room. Her outfit was designer, structured, sharp, perfectly curated for damage control. She had even reapplied her lip gloss as if this was some kind of boardroom misunderstanding she could spin with charm. She glanced at the two military police officers flanking the door, gave them a polite smile, measured, calculated, and took her seat with crossed legs and crossed arms, a power pose. She was still convinced this was about Anna. Maybe her quiet little sister had made a mistake. Maybe she got caught up in some internal mess and they just wanted context. Maybe Chloe thought she could fix this. That was her world after all. Crisis management, PR, perception. She was used to spinning narratives, not being stripped of them. But this room didn't spin. It absorbed and reflected nothing back. She looked around for a mirror, not realizing the entire wall behind her was one. She couldn't see Anna standing there, watching. Expression unreadable. Heart quiet, but beating hard. Chloe rehearsed her lines in her head, the same ones that worked in meetings, in family dinners. She would start with humor, then righteous indignation, then maybe a tear if needed. She was a strategist. What she didn't realize was this was no longer her battlefield. The rules had changed, and she had just stepped into a war she didn't understand. The door opened with a hiss. Chloe straightened in her chair, expecting some middle-ranking officer or pencil-pushing clerk, someone she could impress, someone she could talk down, someone she could handle. Instead, it was Anna. Not hunched, not anxious, not the little sister. She stepped in wearing her full-service uniform, ribbons gleaming, posture perfect. There were no shackles on her wrists, no uncertainty in her gait, just authority. Silent, unapologetic authority. Chloe blinked, visibly thrown. "Anna?" She started, half rising from her seat, confusion blooming fast. But Anna didn't look at her. She walked past her, not a glance, not a nod, as if Chloe were just another occupant in the room, not her sister, as if the roles had been reversed and Chloe was now the stranger. Anna stood beside Colonel Evans, shoulders level, eyes steady. Together, they looked like a unit, like equals. Chloe's eyes flicked between them, her posture beginning to unravel. Something was off. The script she'd prepared no longer fit. The room suddenly felt colder. The silence was no longer hers to control. Then Anna spoke, calm, flat, official. "Sir," she said, her voice clipped, emotionless, "I've completed the preliminary threat assessment on the individual." Individual, not Chloe, not my sister, just an individual. The word hit like a slap. Chloe's breath caught. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She looked at Anna, truly looked, and for the first time saw someone she didn't recognize. Not the little sister with the notebooks, not the quiet girl in the corner of family photos. This was Echo 7, and Chloe was now the subject of her report. Anna slid a thin dossier onto the table. Calm, precise, unforgiving. "This," she began, "is the operational fallout from your birthday message." Chloe blinked. Her voice was dry. "You're serious?" Anna didn't answer. She opened the folder. 3 faces stared up from the page. Agents embedded deep in volatile regions. Chloe glanced down, confused at first. But as Anna spoke, the air in the room thickened. "Agent Rowe, Afghanistan. Extraction ordered within 2 hours of receiving the package. Cover compromised. Agent Lai, Istanbul. Operation Ghost Thread terminated. Years of groundwork lost. Agent Novak, Venezuela. Last communique. Going dark now. He hasn't been heard from since." Anna paused, letting the silence take root. The phrase you wrote, "your favorite little spy," matched a trigger protocol from Project Severance, a counterintelligence sweep targeting infiltration leaks. The system assumed a breach. Chloe opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Anna continued, voice steady, detached, surgical. "We shut down 5 active comm lines, froze 4 surveillance nodes, pulled 3 agents out of the field. 27 months of covert groundwork neutralized in 37 minutes. Each number hit like a hammer. And now, Anna added, finally turning to look at her sister, "Those 3 agents carry permanent flags in their records. They can never go back. Their careers, their networks, their lives shattered." Chloe sat frozen. She wasn't smirking anymore. She wasn't clever anymore. She was just a woman who had pressed the wrong button in a world she never understood. Her hands trembled. Her voice cracked. "I didn't know." Anna's gaze didn't waver. "That's the problem." The room was silent, save for the rhythmic tapping of keys. Anna sat alone in the secure report room, the dim blue light of the screen flickering against her face. No emotion, just focus. She stared at the field labeled subject name. Her fingers hovered. Then slowly, deliberately, she typed Chloe Sharma. The next field blinked, relationship to agent. She didn't pause this time. Just typed NA, and finally, the final classification tag, risk level moderate, escalation possible. Anna leaned back slightly, rereading the entry. It no longer looked like her sister. It looked like a data point, a profile, a threat vector. She took a breath, then one last time clicked submit. A chime echoed. The report was in. From this point on, Chloe wasn't a sibling, she was a case file. And Anna wasn't a little sister anymore. She was the sword the system trusted. The cursor blinked on the secured terminal as Anna opened the social media archive. Chloe's profile was a catalog of curated glamour high-rise brunches, gala nights, captions dripping with sarcasm and confidence. But Anna wasn't here for likes. She was here for leaks. She ran a pattern-matching algorithm through Chloe's last 18 months of posts. Click. A reel from 6 months ago, Chloe at a cocktail party laughing into the camera. Caption. Don't ask what I do, I'd have to kill you. Hashtag little spy things. Click. A tweet from last summer clearly mocking Anna. My sister says she works in Intel? Girl, you're barely working in Wi-Fi. Click. A comment under one of Chloe's photos responding to someone asking where her sister works. Classified. Or, so she says. Anna didn't blink. She screenshot everyone. To Chloe, these were jokes. To Anna's division, they were red flags, breach indicators. Markers of compromised behavior. She filed the evidence into the case folder. Her fingers didn't shake. Maybe Chloe thought the digital world was a playground, but now it was a battlefield, and Anna knew how to fight. The room was cold, but it wasn't the temperature that made Chloe shiver. It was the silence. No cameras, no legal team, just Chloe, a government-issued pen, and a stack of papers stamped top secret, lifetime compliance required. Across from her, a faceless officer read the terms aloud. By signing this document, you acknowledge that from this moment forward, your communication channels, digital and physical, will be subject to surveillance. Any reference to this incident, public or private, constitutes a federal breach. Chloe's hands trembled. I didn't mean to. The officer cut her off. Intent is not relevant. Exposure is. Anna watched through the one-way mirror, her face expressionless, her heart not so much. She remembered the day Chloe gave her that funny mug that read, "World's most mysterious unemployed sister." Everyone laughed, but no one was laughing now. Chloe looked down at the document, her name typed in bold, a permanent mark. She signed. The pen barely moved. She was now legally forbidden to ever speak of this again. Not on TV, not in podcasts, not even in casual dinner table jokes. She looked up one last time, hoping Anna would come in, say something, anything. But Anna was already walking away, and that was the last time Chloe ever saw her sister in uniform. The subject line read, "I'm so sorry, Anna. Please read." Anna didn't open it right away. She stared at the glowing screen for a long time, the cursor blinking like a pulse she no longer recognized. When she finally clicked, the words spilled across the page, rushed, broken, desperate. I didn't know it was that serious. I didn't mean to get anyone hurt. I was just joking, like always. You're my sister, my little sister. I never thought you'd actually turn me in. I miss you. Please, can we talk? There were typos, rambling paragraphs, even a photo attachment of them as kids sitting on a swing set. Chloe had circled it with a heart emoji. Anna read every word, but felt nothing. No anger, no pain, not even satisfaction. Just silence. She closed the laptop slowly. Not because she hated Chloe, but because the person Chloe was writing to no longer existed. Anna wasn't that little sister anymore. She had become someone else. And some apologies arrive after the damage is no longer fixable. She opened the email one last time, scrolled halfway through, stopped. There it was again, that line. "You've always been so cold, Anna, so hard to love." Her thumb hovered over the trackpad, then clicked delete. Not in anger, not in revenge, but in absolute clarity. Anna no longer needed Chloe's love to breathe. No longer waited for approval like a starving child hoping for scraps. She had outgrown their games, their labels, their inability to see her. In the silence of the dim room, her shoulders relaxed. It was the first breath she had taken, not as a daughter, not as a sister, but as herself. The badge on her chest read, Lieutenant Anna Sharma, Strategic Intelligence Division. No longer Echo 7 in the shadows. No longer Chloe's invisible sister. Now she walked into lecture halls with a quiet power that made even senior officers stand straighter. She wore the uniform not as armor, but as truth. In front of 30 young recruits, Anna stood with calm authority. She didn't open with strategy. She opened with a story, her story. Sometimes the hardest decision you'll make in this job is choosing the mission over your own blood. A pause, and that choice will define who you really are. They listened not just to learn protocol, but to understand purpose. Anana had once begged for someone to see her. Now she helped others see themselves before the world ever did. She didn't need forgiveness. She didn't need applause. She had become the kind of leader she once wished for. Anana sat at her desk. The academy was quiet. Night had blanketed the base. She pulled out a folder worn personal. Inside were pieces of a life no one ever really saw. Old family photos, Chloe's birthday card, and a list, a mental ledger. Every time she was told she was too quiet, every holiday dinner where she was talked over, every eye roll when she mentioned her job. One by one, she folded the pages, not in bitterness, but in finality. "You don't owe them explanations," she whispered to herself, "and they don't owe you the recognition you craved." She tossed the folder into the burn bin. Flames caught quickly, but what really burned was the weight she no longer needed to carry. Anna didn't smile. She didn't cry. She simply stood, lighter, clearer, and walked away. Ledger closed. Chapter done. The hallway was long, sterile, silent. At one end stood Chloe, shoulders slumped, eyes red, lips parted like she was about to speak. At the other end, Anna, in uniform, composed, unshaken. Their eyes met. Time didn't slow down. There was no swelling music, just reality. Chloe took a hesitant step forward. But Anna didn't wait. She offered a nod, calm, distant, not cruel, just final. Then she turned. Her boots echoed as she walked away. No words, no closure, just truth. Some bonds break not with screams, but with silence. My sister sent me a gift to remind me of who she thought I was. Small, quiet, easy to overlook. But my commander, he showed her who I had become. Echo 7, a soldier of silence, a protector of truth. And now I no longer need to be seen because I finally see myself. This story teaches us that true recognition starts from within. No one else has the power to define your worth or your identity, only you do. Sometimes standing firm on your values means making difficult choices, even if it means walking away from those who fail to see your true light. Embrace your own strength, honor your path, and never let anyone else's misunderstanding diminish your shine. If Anna's journey touched your heart and inspired you, join our community at Through Her Eyes. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell to hear more powerful stories about courage, resilience, and self-discovery. Stories that remind us all to find strength in our own truth. Your signal will always be received loud and clear here.